If you spend enough time outdoors, you might notice a curious pattern in the air. Two butterflies will flutter past in perfect unison, while a third one frantically trails behind, seemingly desperate to catch up. Mizo folklore interprets this chase as the final act of a tragedy, a story where a natural observation is actually the echoes of a crime. The story centers on Zawlpala and Tualvuingi. In the legends, they are described as a couple whose physical beauty was matched only by the strength of their bond. Viewing the insects through this ancient lens grounds the myth in the physical world, making the story feel as tangible as the flight itself. Their life was interrupted by Funtiha, a wealthy traveling chief. Upon seeing Tualvungi, he developed an immediate obsessive fixation on her. When the chief questioned him about her, Zawlpala made a catastrophic choice. Driven by a sudden impulse of pride, he claimed Tualvungi was merely his sister rather than his wife. To stop the chief, Zawlpala set a bride price relying on his home's architecture to be unpayable. He demanded a massive mithun tied to every structural post, necklaces heavy enough to snap the wall hooks, and enough swords to cover every wall. Zawlpala assumed no one could meet such a demand, but Funtiha paid the sum in full, instantly turning the husband's lie into a binding contract. By trying to use his wife's value as a shield, Zawlpala had accidentally quantified her. Because he named a price and it was met, the social honor of the time gave him no choice but to let her go. The separation proved too much for Zawlpala to handle. Risking everything, he traveled in secret to reach Tualvungi in her new village. Although Tualvungi warned him of the danger, Funtiha intercepted him and used a deceptive show of hospitality to feed him poisoned taro and rice beer. Realizing he was poisoned, Zawlpala ran for his life. He collapsed and died the moment he crossed back over his village threshold. His family desperately sought a messenger to inform Tualvungi. They asked the crab, they asked the crow, and the woodpecker. All failed, and legend says they each received a blow that defined their modern appearance. Eventually, the vahu, the local dove, took up the task, successfully memorizing the tragic song of Zawlpala's death. With the physical world now closed to him, Zawlpala's only way to reach his wife was through this supernatural messenger. The dove found Tualvungi and began to sing. Fearing a trick, she made the bird repeat the song from different corners of her home. When the terrifying truth finally set in, she dropped her weaving to the floor, instantly preparing to flee Funtiha's house. Funtiha had left a razor-sharp sword face up across the exit, a trap intended to maim Tualvungi if she ever tried to leave him. She stepped directly onto the blade, but she didn't turn back. Instead, she tore her own clothes to bandage the wound and kept moving. As she neared her old home, she found village children playing and used toys to bribe them for directions to her husband's grave. Despite the injury and the traps Funtiha had set, Tualvuingi continued until she reached the site where Zawlpala was buried. At the gravesite, Tualvuingi found an old woman and made a grim request. She wanted to be killed and buried in the same plot. They opened the grave to reveal what was left of Zawlpala, whose body had already begun to return to the earth. Tualvuingi spoke to the remains, asking them to shift. According to the story, the bones moved of their own accord to create space for her. The old woman followed through with Tualvungi's request, sealing them both together in the dark. Funtiha arrived just in time to see the grave closed. In a final fit of rage and despair at being excluded, he took his own life on the spot. Funtiha had spent his fortune and his life trying to own Tualvuingi, yet he ended up exactly where she and Zawlpala were, in the dirt, unable to change the outcome. The soil of the grave provided the foundation for a final transformation. Two vibrant butterflies launched themselves upward from the dark grave, finally escaping the heavy weight of the world together. Moments later, Funtiha emerged as a third butterfly, forced by his own history to chase them across the sky without ever being able to close the gap. The next time you see three butterflies in flight, you are seeing the direct consequence of Zawlpala's single, prideful lie.